Welcome fight fans to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video we're going to be going over a hot top prospect from North America named Curmel Moton. Guys, first let me clarify the difference between prospect and contender. Let me also state at the beginning of this video that throughout this video, if you hear me talk about Moton next to other fighters who are already champions, in no way am I saying that Moton is ready to fight those champions. The difference between a contender and a prospect is a contender is a guy who's worked his way up the ladder. He's paid his dues and he's at the top of the mountain, ready to be tested with the best in the world. A prospect is usually a young and skilled fighter who shows all the attributes thus far in their career that one day they could climb that ladder and become a contender, and then hopefully one day challenge to become a world champion. In this video, I'm gonna talk about an 18-year-old prospect from Salt Lake City, but now calls Las Vegas home, named Curmel Moton. Moton is only 18 years old and he only turned pro this past November, but already has created such a buzz in the boxing community, both near and far, partially due to the fact of his tutelage and mentorship under Floyd Mayweather Jr. Curmel Moton's a young man who started boxing at the age of 9, and at only 18, it's easy to do the math, he's been boxing half his life. So today we're gonna look at Curmel Moton's amateur experience, his professional experience, and then talk a little bit about who are the top dogs in the division that he calls home. Guys, Curmel Moton had an amateur record of 61 wins with only 3 losses. He started his amateur career in 2015 before going pro in 2023. The 18-year-old American is an orthodox fighter and he fights out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and his adoring fans call him the big deal. Since turning pro in 2023, Moton is 4-0 with 3 knockouts. He has a career 75% knockout to win ratio. At 130 pounds, there's 1,872 fighters. Moton is currently ranked number 105. He last fought last weekend. Nikolai Buzilin, who was 9-8, Moton knocked him out in the second. Anthony Cuba, 7-0, UD in the 8th. Hunter Tuberville, 3-0, knockout in the first. Ezekiel Flores, 4-0, knockout in the first. Guys, this past March, when he fought Anthony Cuba, the only fight that Moton didn't win by knockout is my favorite fight of Moton. We got to see what he's really made of. It was his first 8-round fight, and Cuba was a steady and ready young fighter who was there to win as well. It was a back and forth slugfest. Moton got as much as he gave, but in the end, it was Moton's aggression and his output that won him that fight. And we got to see his chin get tested. We got to see how mean he could be. And we also got to see him win on the scorecards. So now with each fight at only 18 years old, every round is invaluable experience. His last fight this past weekend on the undercard of Diaz and Masvidal, he fought a 36-year-old. Granted, Buzilin came in on real short notice, and kudos to Buzilin, but Moton at 18, nothing shakes this kid. It seems to me that he was prepped and planned for the bright lights. When we think about the division that he fights in, even though he fought at 135 last weekend, he is a super featherweight at 130, and he's spoken about wanting to become a world champion at 130 before he even moves up to lightweight at 135. The current champions at 130 are Emmanuel Navarrete, Robson Conceição, Lamont Roach, and Anthony Cachachi. And we know that Navarrete moved up to 35 and he lost, so there's also an interim champion, Oscar Valdez. So when you look at those guys, these are the fighters I spoke about in the beginning. I'm not saying Moton is going to fight those guys. This is who you could compare Moton to throughout his career when we think about litmus tests and the measuring stick on how far Moton is from challenging for a title. Because as fans, it's important to understand the natural progression for these young fighters, these young prospects. It's equally as important from their camp's perspective on matching them up with proper skilled talent in terms of where they are in their career path. Sometimes it's unfair for people like myself in the mainstream media to talk about young prospects because the fans then rush the young prospect's name into these big conversations against fighters who are champions, in which the young fighter, it's unfair for them because their experience isn't quite ready to be thrown into the deep end. And that's where a good team, a good camp, and a good management comes into play. With Moton, every fight we're gonna learn something new. Like I said, he hasn't even been a professional a year, and it seems like every month we get news that he's gonna fight. At this stage of their career, young prospects should wanna be fighting as frequently as possible, and everything I've seen from Moton, that's exactly what we're gonna get with him. Stay tuned to this guy, write his name down, and keep an eye out for Curmel Moton.